you guys missed out on getting the listing. That's another property, not an inventory. It's not going to be relisted. It's not going to be resold. Just assume every REO is going to a third-party investor and becoming another rental. That's the nature of our market. It's been that way for literally 10 years. And that's the biggest reason I see behind us having a lack of inventory. Truthfully, this season, the rest of the year, I'm seeing less buyers and less sellers. I don't see it from the perspective of being a top producer where it doesn't really affect me. If you have market brand, if you're David, if you're Steve Hawks, if you're a top producer with branding and name and marketing in place, you keep chugging that engine. You're going to do just fine. If you're someone who does let's be realistic. Most people do about 12 transactions in a calendar year. That's the bulk of most realtors. You got less buyers and less sellers. So you've got to compete with people that are doing more marketing, that have bigger budgets, that already have name brands in place. That's where I see the market in 2018. Do I think that there's going to be a cataclysmic? I think if they spike the interest rate a couple more times and they see the prices slide back, Doug, the thing that I see that will change this market dynamically is if either the foreign investors or the Wall Street investors decide that they've max capped real estate prices and that it's the right time to sell. If they start to sell, or there's a recession or anything that causes prices to go backwards dramatically, I think that Wall Street will liquidate their property. I think Blackstone will liquidate. I think China will liquidate. I think you'll see properties go on the market quickly to try to capitalize on the top end. I think that's what will create this market bubble. That's me personally. David?
Well,
as I said, different than your view, and that's fine.
Yeah, okay. So what you're saying, if that happens, it's true. The market will have a lot of downside pressure. But right now, and I don't know about the rest of the country, so let me just focus on, Southern California, where I'm at, Ventura, which I'm not even sure you call Southern California because we're kind of in a bubble. But we're seeing, I agree, there's very low inventory. It's still a seller's market by merit of that low inventory. Prices are not really moving up that fast, except in the, under $600,000 price range. Those prices seem to be moving much more quickly. The over $700,000 market up here is much slower, and there's a lot fewer buyers as buyers have been priced out of the market. And there is a lot of pressure on entry-level homes. So there's the millennials that are finally in the market, and they are buying houses. They make up the number one segment of home buyers. But those millennials generally are not buying the above $700,000 homes. They're buying the under $700,000 homes, which is why there's intense pressure on those homes, and the reason why those prices are accelerating much faster. I think interest rates are going to continue to impact the market. There are going to be some interest rate increases, in my opinion. The Fed has pretty much telegraphed that. And that will just make affordability even worse. So, which means that will push buyers down towards the lower end of the segment, and the lack of demand for the above $700,000 is already impacting price appreciation. So we are seeing a bifurcated market where the under $700,000 market is appreciating at a pretty good clip, 5, 6, 7% a year, but the above $700,000 market is flat to down. So mostly flat than down. And, so it's either up a couple of percent, it's down a couple of percent, but it's pretty much going sideways. And we are not anticipating a spring or summer price appreciation bump that you might get. Whether or not prices actually go up and down has everything to do with what Lee was saying, and that is what the availability is going to be. So if these big funds were to start dumping their properties and inventory were to become available, that there are not enough buyers in the marketplace to absorb that inventory, and prices would go down. I don't think that means there's going to be a crash. I just think that the market is it's just going to take a breather this year. It's just going to rest. I mean, it can't go higher. I mean, it can go higher, but it's not going to go higher because we're not seeing the wage growth. Now, maybe, so maybe next year, after people see whether or not these new tax cuts actually result in more personal income, which doesn't look probable. It looks like the rich are going to get richer and everyone else is going to be a little sideways, on the deal. But let's see what happens if people start feeling wealthier. That might stimulate more activity. So we'll see. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be an increase in delinquencies and there's not going to be an increase in foreclosures. Those are really separate, but we're not going to have the catastrophic catastrophic decline that we saw in, with the run up in 2007 and 8, and then, the decline in 2009, 10, and 11 before it started to rebound in 2012. I don't think that we're going to see that scenario. There's, it would have to be something come out of the blue, and it would look what Lee said again. It would have to be a big dump. I'm not sure that's going to happen. That may be what we differ on slightly, but I think that the market is healthy overall. Yeah. I think it's stable. I don't think it's going to move much up or down, except in those entry level prices wherever you are. That is in your market here, 500,000, 600,000 is really incredible demand, and over that it starts to get soft. So that's my perspective. I think there's great opportunity in distress. And we are seeing a lot of 10-year notes resetting at full principal and interest. And on a $700,000 or $900,000 house, that's like $2,000-3,000 a month in a mortgage payment, and that's spinning people out. They're going from being able to afford a house to not being able to afford a house, and they're selling because they have to, not because they want to. And you're going to see more and more. And whether or not that is reflected in notice of defaults or not, that's not clear. But I know that I'm getting calls from sellers who are interested in selling their house because their mortgage payment is resetting, and because most mortgages reset in September. I think that I think over the summer, when they start getting their notices 60, 90 days in advance what their new payment is going to be, I think there's going to be a flurry of activity of sellers entering the market as they try to downsize or refinance. But I don't think they're going to like the refinance option, so they're going to sell and buy something more affordable. So we'll see.
Doug Wright, so target marketing at homes valued at midpoint or below for specific market. I don't know if you have to look. The only reason that I like targeting mid-market when you're talking about, again, it's niche marketing, right, Doug? So niche marketing in real estate, there are only 3 niches. And we talked about this last week, right? There's probate, there's divorce, and there's pre-foreclosure or default or whatever terminology everybody wants to use. People who've missed payments on their home. The only thing when it comes to people who've missed payments, Doug, is that median to lower median just seem to be an easier conversion than ultra high end or ultra low end. I don't know if I would target specifically for any other reason beyond that. I can just tell you, as long as David and I have been doing this and even dating back further, the really low end are, I don't know what their problem is. In my mind, the absolute tear down, fix and flip, they don't even take care of their own house. They're prepared to ride the storm into the ground. And then at the other end of the spectrum, the ultra high end all think that they're smarter than the system and that they and their attorneys are going to win the day and sue the bank. The people that are most logical on conversion are just midpoint and median to low median. Not even high median to low medium, just regular, everyday, generally speaking, blue collar, rational human beings who just want to work their 9 to 5, who are just buried by the payment. They just let it go too far. And they honestly believe fundamentally that the bank is going to cut some kind of loan modification agreement with them, and that everything will get back to normal until they find out the payment's exactly the same, which put them in that problem in the first place. To answer your question. Joe.
So I can tell you a trend we are seeing is that, are you there? So one of the things that we're seeing is people are they're applying for loan mods, looking for relief in their payment, and their payments are going up. We're seeing things because they're submitting their income, and their income is too high, and so they're saying, or they're delinquent and they have good income now, and the bank is just is raising their mortgage payment, and that just makes it worse. They don't understand that a modification doesn't mean a lower payment. It means a change in the terms of your original mortgage. Modify.
There you go. Joe, do you have feedback on which color tags are working the best? Didn't you send me an email on this? Somebody sent me an email on this. Currently I like the UPS, still the best by far. If you want to change it up, use the I'm sorry, FedEx is the best, UPS second best colors. So the purple and white first, and then the browns second. Richard, what's David going to talk about at the summit? He's going to be talking.
They can let us know. I don't know what we're going to talk about exactly, but generally I spend a lot of time talking about conversion, and I suspect that we're going to do that again. That seems to be what most people want to hear from me, but we'll have some time to do some Q&A on whatever everybody wants to talk about. I don't know if we're going to, I've rolled out a pretty cool FSBO program. I don't know if we're going to talk about that. I kind of introduced everybody to our 21 email follow-up campaign last week that we're doing, and that's we're excited about that and just really getting that rolled out effectively. So we have lots to talk about. We'll tighten that up as we get closer to the event, but you guys give me feedback on what you want, and I'll try to make sure that we include it.
Richard, any trends in FHA short sales? Are lenders foreclosing and collecting the mortgage insurance instead of doing short sales?
Okay. FHA is tough to do a short sale with. They want way too much money for the property, and I guess that comes as a result of the mortgage insurance. So so remember when a bank is doing a foreclosure versus a loan mod, they're basically looking at, do we make more money by modifying, or do we make more money by foreclosing? So if a bank can foreclose and they get the mortgage insurance, that's going to be a factor in how much they're willing to accept on a short sale. So they're not likely to accept less on a short sale than they can get from mortgage insurance in the event of a foreclosure. So one of the problems that we have in doing FHA short sales is that the banks are asking for more than market value on the property, and we can't get a buyer to that market value. And so we really struggle with some FHA short sales where the mortgage insurance is actually more profitable than the foreclosure for the bank.
There you go. Don, if you are denied for a loan mod, what are the other options outside of paying the loan current and selling the property? You mean the other options to foreclosure?
To avoid foreclosure.
To avoid foreclosure, I guess, is the question.
Yeah. So, the options are there's a loan mod. Of course, there's forbearance. There's forbearance is where it's a form of a loan mod where you take the past due payments and you go to the end. But what you're saying, go to the end of it and they re-amortize it. But what you're saying is generally correct. At the end of the day, unless somebody either has cash that they can cure the default or has a family member that's willing to cure the default for them, at the end of the day, it really comes down to loan mod or sale. Now, sometimes people add bankruptcy in there, and that's simply to buy more time so that they can do a sale or a modification. But generally speaking, those are the two options that most people are left with if they do not have funds to